We have Alex online today. Alex is a co-founder of Metaengine, and it's one of the Berkeley Blockchain Accelerator cohort companies. So, Alex, tell us, what are you doing searching for the holy grail of NFTs, and what does Metaengine do?
Hi, Luke. Thanks for having me. That's a big question. What does Metaengine do? Metaengine is a game development platform specifically focused on providing tools for metaverse and GameFi developers. We have brought together a traditional massive multiplayer online technology that was used for many years to develop traditional games, MMORPG games, bringing in millions of players online interacting in this very large open worlds. We bring in that platform into the new GameFi blockchain world where not only that many players will be able to interact, but also they will uh, earn uh, from the experiences that they have in games. They will be earning some uh, prizes, finding loot, being able to trade the assets, and actually own and being kind of managing their digital assets throughout the platform and between different games.
Gotcha. So, as someone who played games a lot growing up, I think it's a no-brainer to say there will be a set of NFTs or a standardization among in-game items and characters so that you can use one in another world, so that you can interoperate where you win loot in one and then you take that loot to another different world. But that said, the gaming world to me is an early iteration of DAOs and crypto assets and token economics and democratic incentivization schemes. Um, in your perspective, what do you think? What do you think are the things that will make specific standards, specific commonalities work as a preferred method? Because it's not only you that is trying to bring about this kind of global change.
What, in our view, the new Web3 world of gaming specifically is going to be different from the traditional game in one important aspect. It's that the value of future games, a lot of that is going to shift from traditional publishers and owners of those big franchises to the players themselves. Currently, when you are playing any game, whether it's traditional game and actually even some of the early GameFi projects. When you're playing those, you're really not only that you're linked to a specific publisher and that specific title, um, um, and it's also the fact that independently of how much time or money you spend in that game, the value is not transferable at all. So if the publisher decides to pull the plug on that specific title for whatever reason, maybe they just want to focus on a different project, the value of your investment of time and money and sweat and emotions and everything else that you have put in that game goes down to zero. Same goes for many of the early blockchain or GameFi games, because again, the assets are not transferable between different games, different experiences. Since we went to the market with our platform offering about 2 months ago, we have been in touch with about 500 GameFi and metaverse developers. And what we realized is actually there is a new kind of thinking that GameFi developers have versus the traditional developers. And this new thinking is, first of all, it's driven by the fact that they are super happy for their gamers to actually own digital assets and be able to trade those digital assets. But one thing that we were surprised by is that they are actually very happy to share and to use different assets that were created either independently to be incorporated in different games, or even if they were created for one game and other assets created for the other game, to kind of mix them together and increase potentially the exposure of those assets, which means for us as a platform provider, is it first of all, it means more gaming experiences can be built by using the same asset set. sets, right? And at the same time, for NFT owners or digital asset owners in general, also will be able to increase or maintain the value of those NFTs by increasing the number of use cases for that specific asset, whether it's an avatar or any kind of armor that you as a player will be able to basically, kind of choose the gaming experience from either large lobby that you will be part of, choose those experiences, and bring your own assets and your let's say loot that you have collected in other games, or even collect loot in game one that might give you exposure in game number two as well. So we see a lot of this cross pollination and potentially improving, first of all, the experiences, and increasing the sizes of those audiences as well, by providing them with different types of experiences. And because we as humans are always looking for something new, to experiment, looking for new challenges, that actually provides a very interesting opportunity for them, for different game developers to kind of join together on an interoperable platform.
So as we move from Web 2 to Web 3, why is it so important that we have a Web 3 native gaming engine? And if you want to name the other big competitors, the other gaming engines, you can, but why is it so important that Metaengine is built to be natively Web 3, natively metaverse?
So there are really a full game engine platform. If you were to look at it from a traditional point of view, there are really no real players today on the game on the Web3 side. We are entering this space as kind of a unique full offering that provides that full integration from game engine technologies to client server to database integration to different networking features that we have, plus the whole set of different blockchain tools that we will have integrated, and we're currently working on those integrations. So the on the traditional side, there are obviously great competitors that we have, whether it's Unreal Engine, which is a real king on the photorealistic graphics side. And if anybody wanted to build a great first-person shooter type of game with amazing graphics, that would be an amazing choice to make. And we always suggest for anyone, but if you want to build a scalable experience, so instead of 1 to 10 people, let's say you want to bring together, you want to have thousands upon thousands of players that are joining in the same experiences, Unreal does not provide that set of integrated technologies. So game developers or GameFi developers are left alone on their own, basically trying to integrate third-party technologies, write a lot of code themselves in order to do that. Same goes for Unity in terms of breadth of tools, but Unity's real focus is on smaller scale mobile games, and they are great cross-platform engine as well. But again, very limited in scale. Both of them. You cannot really build by using those technologies open worlds with unlimited scale, let's say planet scale type of worlds, which is very different when you are using our technology that is built on a traditional MMO engine called Hero Engine that was used to build some of the iconic games like Star Wars: The Old Republic and the Elder Scrolls Online games. Those cover several planets in scale with millions of simultaneous players that can be supported.
Okay, so let's backtrack a little bit. I want to show the audience here, the community, the way that you and your team came to be and the way that you all decided to journey into Metaengine. So tell us about first your history, right? How did you grow up in the professional space? What were you like as a kid? Did you fail at anything before? Did you succeed at anything before? And ultimately, why did you choose gaming as your space and then move into Web3 specific gaming?
So yeah, when I was growing up, I grew up in the old Soviet Union, so there was not a lot of gaming and no computers. So we have, I think, the first time I actually touched the keyboard, I was probably at the last year of my bachelor's degree at university. But I was fascinated by it. I remember we were the first team that was trying to replicate some of the early fonts that obviously there were no Cyrillic fonts available in those days. So we were basically experimenting with those traditional Times New Roman and Arial and other fonts that were available in English. We were kind of transliterating that into Cyrillic, and that was a fun experience, but very limiting, but early interactions with that. So the first real work that I have done was my diploma thesis that I wrote typed on the computer. But then I studied math and physics, so that technical degree actually helped me with introduction into technology. So I went to work as an IT consultant, and then IT consulting kind of got to the point where I thought I needed more knowledge in general, about business and so on, because of limited knowledge that I had from my scientific studies. So I did my MBA and went to work for Wall Street Bank, working as an equity research analyst. Then several years down the line, switched to what is called buy side. So I was managing global tech and telecom investments for a number of Swiss institutions. And straight after the financial crisis of '08, I decided that I really wanted to change back to technology. And with a friend of mine, we were looking at different opportunities, and that's how we came to an idea to build something that was, call it, better in terms of offering than in those days a super famous platform called Second Life. And working on that project, we came across this gaming engine called Hero Engine that was specifically developed for large scalable environments. And that's how that journey started. We acquired that technology. The whole team of engineers came over together with the IP itself. And in the technology path, moving from the traditional world of client server architecture. We launched the first service on AWS in 2012 with real-time collaborative environments where many developers can join one another in the same environment, similar to how we used to work together with Google Docs versus the old style traditional word processing applications. And you can co-develop and basically bring different skills at the same time, and really take advantage of that. So that's my background. My co-founder Antoine joined this effort about 8 years ago, and we started working together on different applications and providing that, continuing to provide that technology as to game developers. Then in about 4 years ago, MMO space hasn't seen a lot of growth. So we started looking into kind of areas where where our platform can specifically be of greater use. And one of those areas was smart cities, because again, smart cities, what are they about? About large scale, constantly changing environment, mass participation. So that was another step in the journey, and we started also building what we called a subsurface infrastructure management platform, visualizing whole cities infrastructure within three-dimensional environment to help to manage that infrastructure, avoid accidents and the rest. And that was going okay, I would say. There were lots of the it's a large and very, very dynamic area that is currently experiencing kind of a revival across the world, because many governments are investing a lot in infrastructure itself, in physical infrastructure, right? And about a year ago, we saw the whole rise of many metaverse projects, and a lot of developers were joining together and trying to build something. The one thing that was missing from many of these projects was actually that large, scalable offering that we were used to see on the traditional gaming side. And that's how we entered this space with basically our platform, which was coming from a traditional side, but really with an expansion into including all the different services from blockchain. We managed to create a unique platform, not we were already on the Hero Engine side. It was a pretty unique platform by itself, but with this addition of different blockchain features, providing the platform that would allow game developers without friction to develop their entertaining solutions without really avoiding a lot of technology integration risk and saving a lot of time in the meantime while developing those products.
So when you say we, who's we? Talk about your teammates a little bit.
So Antoine Castel, he's my co-founder. He's been my partner on this side for the whole journey of Metaengine's development. We have a team. We have currently three teams. One team of engineers that is based on the US and is focusing on the real engineering side of the Metaengine itself, and that high scalability, real time collaboration, and the rest. We have another team that is based in Ukraine. These are the guys who are focusing mainly on the content development side. So great artists, great level designers or world builders, as we call them. These are the guys who actually create a lot of that visual experience and visual environments that you see in games. And then our new team that is based in India primarily was a team leader based in Dubai, where these guys are primarily focusing on the blockchain integration and development. So many tools, SDK development, and so on, that are going to become part of this bigger platform.
Gotcha. So, in my experience, when teams are built and products are built, there are often false starts and setbacks. So, in this long journey, have you experienced any of that? And would you like to share?
Oh, long journey of Meta Engine or in general?
In general, and also Meta Engine.
Okay, so
What I'm thinking is, so a lot of people listening here are people who might want to become entrepreneurs, who might want to transition into blockchain, who might want to join the Berkeley Accelerator, who might be students looking to find a job or researchers looking to find what's cutting edge. So the question is directed for these people who might walk your path in the near future and who could use a little bit of advice or maybe a flashlight in the dark.
right. So yeah, one of the things that we have experienced early on the engine side is that we although we believe that we were providing the best infrastructure available for the game developers to jump in and start building those experiences, what we realized quickly is that we were putting a lot of hope uh, into ability of many very enthusiastic game developers to actually deliver those products. So we started off, and we continued for actually a couple of years, providing the services for free in expectation that this kind of quick turnaround, that a lot of the games, we had thousands of new starts projects on the platform, and we were expecting for many of those projects to go live, and then we would be making some royalty from those games, and everybody will be happy. Game developers will be happy with the great tools that they have. We will be happy because we'll be making some of that investment, taking you know making some of that investment back and making some profit from this, and creating a flow of different projects that would be there. What we realized is, as usual in entrepreneurial circles, and this was my kind of first experience with on the entrepreneurial side, is that there is out of huge number of new starts, there is very much smaller number of those projects that actually manage to complete that journey and deliver the product. And yeah, so we were, I wouldn't say fooled, but inspired too much at the beginning by that early success of a lot of enthusiastic teams that started, but we did not really manage to get many of them. And it's not only the technology; it was not the technology that was limiting factor. It was mainly the fact that many of these teams were in a there were great creative individuals, but maybe not great as managers or as financiers to understand how the those that side of the business should work. So that was a significant setback on our side because we've been investing a lot, but not actually making any money throughout that process. What we see different, by the way, on on GameFi and Metaverse side is that uh, we are. Oops, looks like we lost the connection.
Oh, can you still hear me?
Um, yes. Oh, yes, I can hear you. I just lost your video
Okay,
feed.
connection back.
Anyway, if so, shall we continue or?
Yes, totally.
Right. So, what we experience on the GameFi Metaverse side is that many of those teams they actually gone through that through the fundraising side first. So whether they sold NFTs or even pre-sold some tokens, they do have enough funding to be able to put together a good quality development team in order to deliver those games. So that's a very different experience, much more, let's say, although it's a lot more, call it finance focused, but we believe that when there is good funding, they can actually get good people on board and have a much higher chance of delivering those products to the markets versus the more, let's say, creative, inspiration driven teams that we have seen in the early days of traditional game development.
Gotcha. Yeah. I feel like sometimes startups are on a constant battle to not lose morale and not lose money. And morale and money are both finite resources. So I wonder, from your perspective, what have been the key partnerships or key investors that allowed you to continue on and that allowed you to actually deliver a big vision, not just with your initial surge of inspiration, but even through these dark times.
Yes. So first of all, I would say the key is actually the team. Investors, because they obviously, unless it's we are the only investment in their portfolio, then they pay a lot of attention to this. But in general, investors have a lot of other projects to look after, so it's they're not as hands-on. But what one needs the most important ingredients in this or a factory of success is your team. When the team is highly dedicated, and we've been lucky to have a team of engineers that have dedicated themselves over a decade plus into development of this platform, maintenance of it, and continuous improvement of the platform. So this I would say the key factor of success on our side. And now that we have been quite successful in raising our first seed round at the beginning of this year, so we are able to supplement that great enthusiasm and professionalism with a good financial backing in order for us to be able to continue delivering and deliver this unique platform to GameFi metaverse developers.
So we talked a little bit before this, and I remember thinking, how is real-time development possible? What does that even mean?
Right.
So, do you mind clarifying that and why it's so distinguished compared to the way things used to be done?
So real-time development is different from traditional development. We can start with comparing, let's say, traditional word processing, right, where you were writing a document on your computer, creating version one, then send it to me or put it on a Dropbox, and I take that file and create 1.1, and so on and so forth. Where this iterative process the document continues to move along that process in a linear fashion. Collaborative development is more like working, as I mentioned, like with Google Docs or Google Sheets, where 100 people can start working on that same document and continue to improve that document or filling in the data on the sheet and so on. Imagine taking that and blowing it up to a full three-dimensional world where anything that you want to build is possible to create, and but you still have that collaboration available to you. So when we look at the gaming development in general, why it is, we believe, one of those, call it holy grail of future development, there are several reasons. One of them is, first of all, when you are developing together with others, um, unlike with, let's say, when you're writing a document, many are contributing, but it's more or less the function is the same. Some people are writing, some are editing, but there is not a lot of differences in what they are contributing. It's literally just content or text, right? When you're working on a game, there are many different contributors to that process. So you can have artists that are coming in and bringing and importing their art. You can have level designers, you can have scripters that are programming the interfaces and programming the actual environment. So you can have testers that are actually running against your environment in real time as well. So when you bring all of those people together in that same environment, you get not only that you get the synergies because they start actually creating these experiences and kind of seeing in real time what's right, what's not, and they are not working in silos any longer. At the same time, what they can do is achieve a much higher productivity because everything happens in real time. Which means if I created, let's say, simple example, if I landscape the hill that you are trying to run on that hill, and if it's too steep, I can change it. I can see you trying to climb that hill, and you cannot. So I can change it in real time to adjust for your specific test that you are doing. A lot of that is what saves time, because if I have created this and then other 100 people have created different stuff like this, then we go through a build process and then only give it to you to test. A lot of time passes by, and for you then to give me that feedback, for me then go back to the development environment, that's loops of 20 plus steps that are increasingly complex and very and if it's a large scale project, it becomes a real kind of very important and difficult project management exercise. On the collaboration side is exactly the opposite. You have a problem of too many people doing too many things in real time, and you need a much tighter coordination. So if I'm responsible for design, laying the roads, and you are doing the parks, and somebody else is putting buildings, another person is scripting within those buildings, different doors that are opening and cars that are moving on the streets and so on. We should know that, for example, if I've built those roads, I should not just start moving them around after somebody else is already scripting those cars and the NPCs that are standing in those environments and so on. So there is that level of call it communication and management that needs to happen ahead of time. But if you've done something like that, you can cut your development time for a certain environment that could take you a week to put all of that together. You can do it in 3, 4, 5 hours using our technology. Extremely efficient. This number one benefit. And
Okay, that sounds beautiful.
I'm going to take my time to explain more of those benefits. So the other important benefit is, especially in GameFi, right? In GameFi, what is the difference between developer and those that are, for example, buying NFTs in a specific project, or people that buying tokens? These guys want to get involved at much earlier stages, because on traditional side, a lot of these projects are in stealth mode. Nobody knows what's happening here, right? With GameFi, everybody knows, the whole market knows that something is happening. So when you have that collaborative environment, not only that you can have your development team building in real time, and they can stream that development on Twitch or YouTube Live 24/7. There is no real limit on that. You can also give 100 access codes to top 100 let's say NFT owners this week, the next 100 next week, and so on and so forth, and let them go and mess up with your environment. They will be only players, right, in that environment, so they cannot change the environment, but they will be the one that will be able to provide you with invaluable feedback in order for you to be able to develop in the direction, because it's a community owned project, right? A lot of that is being funded by the community. You can engage your community at much earlier stages. That is extremely, I think, in GameFi is extremely important step in the development. Third benefit is when you are developing, you always face issues, right? Something is not working. You constantly are trying to resolve some problems and so on. Um, when you're working within that iterative process, what you need to do is a lot of, let's say, you need to repeat it several times if you have an issue, record everything, screenshots, videos, take logs and do all of those complicated documentaries to document everything that you do in order then to go to a support team, whether it's an engine support team or the forums, to ask them the question. And usually it takes much longer to do this. In case of collaborative technology, what you can do, you can create a support ticket and the person can simply join your world, be with you directly in that place, in that three-dimensional, on that planet somewhere, uh, and they can experience that exactly the way you experience it and see how they can support and solve your problem in real time. That again saves a time of tons of time, frustration, and potentially saves projects because there are sometimes issues that are very difficult to overcome. And fourth, there are several other benefits, but there is the fourth benefit that I believe is critical for specifically for metaverse development projects. It's our strong belief that there is not a single company in the world, right, that will be able to develop metaverse by themselves. They can they can uh, build parts of it, but it will not be a single company operation. First of all, its metaverse is too big to develop it at once. It will take you a decade to build. Secondly, metaverse, if you wanted to develop, even download and install metaverse on your computer, imagine how much it's going to take, either capacity on your network or capacity on your computer. So when we see metaverse development happening in kind of in an evolution of metaverse development wise. So you start with a number of interoperable smaller experiences, mini games that are all either using the same set of NFTs or different sets of different digital assets, but are interoperable within a certain environment. And then the other experiences can be added to that in real time. So you as a player, next time you enter this environment, you'll see some new doors that are going to be open for you within that environment. And every time you enter, the more developers are going to join in into that development, right? And you start to move up that curve, the more experiences you will want to experiment with, and potentially you will tell your friends and so on. And that's how we're going to move from let's say 2-3 million of GameFi players today in the world and create something attractive to get exposure to those 3.5 billion developers that are in the traditional, 3.5 billion players that are in traditional gaming. So that to enable that, you need that real-time collaboration in order to not to constantly reinstall and create and or install new content right on your machine, so you'll be able to access that content, constantly running updates and upgrades. You need to have an environment that is persistent and is capable of evolving in real time. The same technology that drives that real-time collaboration actually allows you for that to happen as well. So your environment continues to develop, and through that you can bring creators into that environment, you can bring investors, you can bring NFT owners, people that simple players that want to just experience that diversity of multiverse experiences. So we see this as really a core benefit for the development of metaverse. Not only the collaborative features, but the fact that it's built to evolve rather than a static exe file that or a Mac file that you install on your computer, and then every time you want something new, you have to install something different.
So let's say there are developers listening in right now. How do they easily come into your ecosystem? How do they just try it out?
So the easiest way to get to us is to go on metaengine.gg and reach out to us. Well, what we are currently doing is we prefer to speak directly to developers at the moment, rather than just go and get mass market type of approach to this. One of the reasons for this is, first of all, we're still building out those capacities. The other one is the fact that we want to talk to developers to understand their needs, because in majority of cases, many developers have aspirations what they want to build, but how to achieve that using certain technologies, as I said, might be a different path, because the choice of technology will determine in many ways what you're going to build. So if you want to build a great and amazing photorealistic environment where you will be fighting in this amazing jungle with great predators, but it's all kind of a single player type of experience. You might want to go for an engine that was built especially for this. That's Unreal, and we will tell the developers directly, because it makes no big. One of the biggest differences, by the way, just to highlight another kind of feature of the platform, is the fact that our platform lives alongside the game and supports the game from day number one of the development through all the cycles, all the way through that last day when the developers decide to take it down for whatever reason, moving to a new project, or they just decided to retire, buy an island, or for whatever reason they decide to switch off the game. This is the whole journey, the life cycle of the game. We are always there, and we prefer not to over promise and under deliver, rather the other way around. We prefer to deliver all necessary technologies for game developers to achieve their vision, and not to create obstacles, because at the end of the day it's a lot of wasted time, resources, energy, emotions, and so on, if the project doesn't succeed. So we at least at this stage, would prefer to be much more hands-on and speak to developers first, see if our platform really meets their needs and their vision, and then go forward with them, or suggest for them to use alternative engines if those are better suitable.
Gotcha. Wow, you're doing so many things. So, okay, given that you're doing so many things and you have so many teammates, at the moment, what would you say your top three priorities are, personally as an entrepreneur and a human being, but also professionally as the leader of an organization, someone who has to basically steer the ship?
Oh, personally, I am uh, I love this division of metaverse, basically, and it's kind of a personal mission to actually be able to deliver something that can be a changing, right, something like industry changing platform that is going to support millions of developers and billions of players for the years to come. Something that we can live as leave as a bit of a legacy, right? As a platform itself. On the business side, our priorities today are continued development of the architecture and the integration of different pieces into our larger platform. Along that vision that we want to take away as much stress and technology integration hassle that developers don't have to do, we can take care of those, and give developers all necessary tools to explore their creative side, rather than be stuck in solving some technical issues. The other priority that we have today is actually helping as many projects directly and indirectly. Indirectly by providing the platform, and directly where we need to supplement some of those projects with some of our resources that we are currently hiring in the team, to expand the number of developers on the platform, both internally to help the external developers to achieve their vision faster, because we are believers in I think the core uh, how do you say, the reason why gamers come to play games are for the diversity, the repeatability, right, of experiences, the fact that gamers want to continuously experience new things, or engage in other games where they can be with their friends or part of a guild, to participate in those experiences, to create the community feel as well, right? Is something extremely important for us, because that strength is going to translate into much more successful games themselves. Because if games are through this, as one of the points I mentioned, the collaboration, if games are capable to engage their communities at much earlier stages, they will just simply be better, right? It only will help them to become better, and that's what our mission is, to really support that development.
Very cool. Well, last question for you. If you could speak to your previous self, someone who wasn't a traditional industry looking at the future, someone who was pre-team trying to find out how do I get the right people on board, someone who didn't have a co-founder, who was on a journey to find the right partner, the less polished maybe version of you, the version of you that wasn't a black belt, what kind of advice would you give that person, the Alex of the past? And maybe this kind of advice would be helpful for others as well.
Yeah, you gave me too much credit. I'm not black belt yet, I guess. That's we'll see how the meta engine development is going to happen. So we're still training, doing a lot of repetitive exercises on that. But yes, I mean, if I were to look back, I think one of the core um, points that I would focus on, as far as the finding people that you both trust, and you share the vision, and then also share the responsibilities. Because sometimes you start thinking that that delegating or sharing the responsibilities is extremely important, because there are too many aspects within the business that are difficult to handle for a single person. So having a reliable team and partners that are with you, and sometimes I engaged in very honest and in your face type of discussions, when you are making mistakes, when you need to change the course, but at the same time, being flexible, being, listening, not only um, uh, let's say, being bought into that one vision that you started with, but being also flexible and nimble to adjust at the right time, especially when the markets are shifting. This was one of our learnings at the early days. We were the best technology to build MMO games, and we still remain one. But there are no MMO games being built, or not that many as we thought they would be. So you could be and still believe that you are that strong, amazing player in a specific field. But if your field is shrinking, while you are kind of closed in, and you are just happy with being that one provider that everybody can rely on, um, keeping much closer eye to the market, having partners, including like yourself, who can provide both critical advice, and also somebody advisors that can bring in that external view, what's really happening outside, are extremely important. So this would be my advice to myself, is surround to my earlier self. Surround, if possible, yourselves with uh, lots of smart people that can challenge you, that can continuously challenge your assumptions, and help you improve along the way.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much for your time and for sharing all your wisdom with our community. Berkeley Blockchain Accelerator is lucky to have you and lucky to have Metaengine.
Thank you very much, Luke. Really enjoyed this, and hopefully we'll talk soon on the
Yes,
progress of what we're making here at Metaengine.
definitely. Episode 2 soon.
Thank you.